So, welcome back to Skåne, and welcome back to the 18th episode. So, again, we are in Blekinge actually, so we are doing the next of the 1067mm railways, and I hope I managed to get it right this time maybe. Last time I think I mixed 1067 and 1066 and 1076 and a few others into the mix. Anyway, so it is a 1067mm railway, just straight from the start. So we are slowly heading into the station at Karlshamn on Karlshamn-Wislanda Railway. That also opened in 1874. Karlshamn is a city with a harbor. It was founded in the mid 17th century, but there was a harbor from earlier on with fishing industry and also export industry of steel and cast iron from the forest land to the north to where we are heading. Railway going off there to the left is continuing towards Sölvesborg, where we were in the last episode, I believe. Karlshamn was from the start called Bodekull, as a Danish harbor, but when the Swedes took the area in 1658, it was decided to put a naval base, and the best area suited for it was thought to be Karlshamn. So the city was founded, and some naval activity happened there. But the next king realized that Karlskrona was better suited for it actually, so it moved 100 kilometers to the east instead. We're going through the tunnel. We have gone from the sea over the water divider and into the Mörrum River Valley. And we're going to follow this river for a long time. So the first stop on the river is Vislanda, where there were actually nada when the railway came here. There wasn't even a house. But as this is the first part when the railway hit the Mörrum River, it was a good place to have a station, both for train meetings and also for supplies of coal and water, and as a connection to nearby villages. It turned out to a larger village actually, Svängsta, and some form of fishing reel was apparently invented there, and the factory was later bought up by Abu Garcia. They're still producing reels following the same principles apparently. Over the countryside here was one of the links during Napoleon Wars for English goods to reach Germany and Russia through the harbor in Gothenburg, and overland route through this area, and it was shipped out from the export harbor at Karlshamn, which made the city's merchants rich. This station is Hemsjö, where there's also nothing. This is just a tiny village, and it has never been anything but a very tiny village. They apparently have had a football club for some time. Moving on to the north, the next place we will visit is Hovmanbygd, and as usual I have created the area to look similar to what it looks like in real life as much as I can. I built the railway following the principles it was originally built after, and all the stations are in the track layout of the stations are either the original one or a simplified one, and that will be the case here as well. So the stations on this line weren't that big because Hovmanby basically didn't exist more than as a very tiny village as well when the railway came. But it has an industry track going out, interestingly enough. And nowadays, one of the original post wagons from this railway is actually put outside the old former station building in Hovmanby. And we are moving on to the north, and we are skipping a few villages because they're quite close between. So there is a village called Fridafors, which is where we enter Småland, left behind us. Had a paper mill, and some other industry due to falling waters. Then comes a Ryd, which is actually a larger village. It was even a small town for a while, hamlet. Nordaryd, which had the junction from where Hundshultek-Varamåla railway left to the east or northeast. But we haven't put that one in because we are just at the edge of the map anyway. So this station is Ålshult, famous for metal industry. The metal industry was founded in 1634. Made cannonballs mainly, and stoves and stuff, cast iron. And it has a manor house, which is now reopened as a hotel. It has an antique countryside shop museum and other things to see. And it's at the very southern tip of Lake Åsnen, which is one of the bigger lakes in this area. The railway was actually planned from the start to be built only from Carlshamn and here, and that goods and people could be moved over to steamship here, because from here you can actually get with steamship all the way to Alvesta station, or close to Alvesta station on the southern main line, and that is north of where our map ends actually. Fortunately, they decided not to. And as with other railways, this one also had a financial issue from the start. So even though the merchants in Karlshamn had made a lot of money from the Napoleon Wars and the transit trade, smuggling, they still needed to found a railway all the way up to the main line, which the closest, easiest accessible point would be Vislanda. And the state decided they did not want to give any loans or contributions either. So they managed to collect the money, and the railway was built in a very short time frame because the money was short and they needed to get some funds in as soon as possible. So everything was built quickly and rather cheaply and with a little bit more simple standards, and an autosave of course, but it was still a good project, and it was opened by King Oscar II, and he made a special point in the fact that Karlshamn had managed to build a railway, a private railway themselves, without the need of state assistance for the funding. The railway survived until 1979 and was torn up in the start of the 1980s. Had it been a normal gauged railway, it would probably have survived, because the coastal line through Blekinge was also built with 1067mm, were eventually widened into 1435, and this one was on the list to have that done as well, but it just never happened. So this was the last 1067 railway still in use in Sweden. And we reached Ulvö, and that should not be mixed up with the Ulvö where they make fermented herring. It's a different place, same name. And this area of Lake Åsnen between Ulvö and the next station, Ulvik, is now part of a national park because it has a large archipelago. You can't see much of it here, but and the entire lake has an iron-rich sediment at the bottom, so big parts of this lake has been used as an iron mine to get the sand up from the bottom that contains iron ore. So there are several cast iron mills around here. So we reach Ulvik, which basically has nothing, but it has actually a beach. So moving back to the railway in general, it was demolished in the 1980s, and there is now a plan to build a railway to Karlshamn from the southern main line, and the plan currently is to start it from Älmhult, which is a little bit more to the south, so it's not going to follow the Mörrum River. I think it will probably be an extension of the railway that goes from Älmhult to the southeast already now. So I think that is the plan. I don't believe there are any decisions made, so we'll see about that. So we are continuing north, still Lake Åsnen on the side, and the next station is Torne. From there we are going to leave Lake Åsnen and turn left inland uphill. So Torne might be named after Thor's spring, Thor, the Nordic Norse god. Thor's spring is in the forest outside the village. It's believed that it might be named after that one. And this one also, this village also had a long history of metal industry with lake ore. And there was a boat factory here, making small rowing boats. And a special design only made here that was called Torne Eka. They are not made anymore, so they were apparently not popular enough. Well, there's a lot of people waiting to get over here. So one of the main exports, main transports of this line, south to north, was herring. So the local folks would call it the herring line. And in the other direction, the big export was, or transport was, cast iron from the villages next to Lake Åsnen, and wood products, paper mills, sawmills, furniture factories, stuff like that. And well, we are actually quite close to IKEA's birthplace, so why not? Furniture factories in this area would be a good place. So the stop here was at Grimslo, and it's also a smaller village. I'm not sure if there was anything here before. I can't find really anything except that there is supposedly a documentary made about this village. I haven't been able to find it, so I don't actually know anything about it. And the next stop is the last stop of the line. So we are arriving at Vislanda on the southern main line. And as you can see, we don't cross with the southern main line. We have a joint reloading station to that we just passed on the left, where there are tracks of two different gauges, so you could easily move goods from one side to the other. This line will later on continue further on all the way to Halmstad on the west coast, continuing 1067, so it's actually turning right there in front of the station and it's going under the main line, continuing to the left. So that was this episode. Next time we are going for some more noble areas. It's not the herring line next time, it's the noble counts line. So until then, have a really good time, and I hope you enjoyed the movie. Thank you so much for watching.